Hello everyone, hope you all are doing well. Today we are going to discuss ISSA 5000 Sustainability Assurance. When this standard was introduced by the ACCA, till now this topic is considered most hot topic. I don't know why many students find this topic very difficult, even though this is not the most difficult topic. Till now, we have been learned about the audit of the financial statement. We have all the understanding about the audit of the financial statement. But once we heard about the word sustainability, we forget each and everything. Why? Because this is a new standard and we don't have much guidance, or you can say the knowledge on this standard. But don't worry, after this lecture, you have much more understanding about this standard, how we as an auditor or you can say the practitioner will work on the sustainability assurance. If we talk about the past, in the past we have the rules, the regulations on the labor law, on the customer, supplier, consumer, whatever you can say, we have the rules. But there were no specific framework, there were no specific guidance. If I want if I want to tell you, if can you compare two companies' financial statement? You can say yes, if they both are following IFRS, of course, their framework, their compatibility, their relevance may be the same, or of course, it will be the same. But if I can ask you, can you please tell me about the labor laws, about the local laws of company A and company B? You will say both the companies have different rules. So now after this standard, after the sustainability standard, we have one particular framework. Now all the companies have to follow this framework. Then we can say these are all the companies which are under one framework. The framework, the conceptual framework for the sustainability is IFRS S1, which is in the SBR. This is not the complete, means this IFRS S1 does not give you the proper or you can say the specific guidance. Why? If they give you the specific guidance, then of course our thinking will be limited to those guidance. Now, as we are in the fast moving world, so in the fast moving world, there are more risks such as greenhouse gases, carbon emission, and much more. So, in order to improve the mindset or the thinking or the capability of the assurance provider, IAASB is not limited our knowledge. That's why in this standard IFRS S1, there are no limitations. Means if you are identifying any new information or any new thing, so you have to give a disclosure of those things. Now, let's talk about why this standard is very important. First of all, you have to understood that from now onwards, there are few countries in which reporting or you can say the sustainability assurance is mandatory. But in the third World War countries, this standard was not exist. And even now, there are many companies. I don't want to name them, but they are the big industrialist of that specific countries. Still, they are not following assurance on the sustainability. But now, as per their SEC, Securities Exchange Commission, they are implementing it, means they are making the part of reporting. Now, guys, let's say there is a client A. Client A have the operations in foreign country. They import raw material from the foreign countries. Now, once they start importing the raw material from the country A, B, C, whatever the country is, so there are different measures which we have to understand. There are transportation issue, there are supply chain issue, climate issue is one of the major thing which is impacting the business in today's world. So don't you think the investor will only look for the financials? Please think about it. Will the investor, before investing in any company, just look about the financial numbers, either the company is in the profitability or not? No. Of course, they will look other non-financial factors as well, where the warehouse of that industry is, from where they are importing. Because I have just told you, let's say your entity A is importing raw material from the country Y. Country Y is the foreign country. Now, for the importing, they have to tackle with different situations, such as there are rain, or you can say the climate issue, the hurricane, whatever the natural disasters are. So don't you think their supply chain will be impacted? Of course, it will be impacted. So now, this is why such type of standards are implementing. So we as an auditor or practitioner will also provide assurance on these engagements. Why? For the better or best understanding of the users, means stakeholders. Let's say there is a garment industry in country B. Now that garment industry have 1,000 or 2,000 laborers. Due to any natural disaster, the entire factory is collapsed, and mostly labor were died in that incident. Now, you have to understood that the garment factory export to European countries. So don't you think due to this incident, not the country's economy is going to down, it will also impact the European Union market as well, because their major import was from country B, and in the country B, in that specific garment industry, there is a natural disaster due to which the company, the industry collapsed, and all the labor affected badly, means their operations closed down, shut down. So don't you think this is only impacting the specific industry? No, it is impacting the entire world. The entire supply chain is going to be disturbed due to just one incident. So in the past, we don't have any standard which we have to follow for such risk related disclosure. But now we have these standards, means conceptual framework IFRS S1, on which we will include such disclosures. Now guys, in this example, in the country B industrial collapse, it is not only impacting the industry, it is also impacting the entire world, means the entire world supply chain will be affected. How it will be affected? Let's say I am living in country B and the industry is situated in the country B, and you are in the country C. You ordered country B industry for 1,000 shirts or pants, whatever you can say. Now, due to natural disaster, the industry in country B is collapsed. So how will you get your orders? Of course, you will not. And if you are not getting your order on time, so how will you deliver to your customers? Of course, you will lose your customers if you are not delivering them on time. Now, this is the one issue. There are series, or you can say the multiple risk or issues linked with this one incident. Now, what are the other incidents? Let's say the 70% import from the country B. But now the country B industry is not in the operating condition. So it means the country B economy is going down, means there is a decline in the country B economy. Similarly, in the Europe, let's say your customers are sustainability customers, means they protect the environment. They work for the NGOs or for the welfares who work or who spend million or trillion in protecting the environment. But now, due to this incident, don't you think they will boycott you as well? Of course, they will. Why? Because if that industry was not located in the country B, so this incident means the loss of labors will not happen. But due to your number of production, your number of orders, they have to locate an industry in the country B. And for their operations, they have to hire multiple labors. But now this one incident is impacting the entire world. So this is why sustainability is very important, because after this standard, we have to provide the relevant disclosures. And we all know the assurance we can only provide on the reporting. If we don't have the reporting, so how we can say that we will provide the assurance? It's not only about the financials, it's also about the non-financials as well. Let's start reading the content. You will learn more about the risk, the challenges. International standards on sustainability. What is sustainability? I am again repeating, there is no specific definition in this standard, but this is the one of the important, or you can say the prime definition on the sustainability. As we all know, in the sustainability, we have three factors: E, S, G. E is for the environment, S means social, G means governance. Environment, I have just given you the one example, the incident example. Sustainability information means any information a company reports about its environmental, social, or governance performance instead of financial performance. Now, this one word, instead of financial performance, limiting the financial impact. It means the sustainability is not about the financial, it's also about the non-financials, means KPIs, the carbon level, the emission, GHG. Now, sustainable development is development that meets the needs of the present without compromising the ability of future generations to meet their own needs. It means you cannot say that we need such things in the present, but you are not considering their impact in the future. Let's say you are living in the forest and you need a wood for proper house. So you cannot say that for my house renovation, I need to deforest such entire forest. Means you cannot cut the trees of the forest just for the temporary residency. Hope you are getting the things. You cannot neglect the impact of your present conditions on the future. You have to think about the future as well. You cannot say that I am living in the present, so I don't need to present a better atmosphere in the future for my children. Of course, if you are a good human or you have a good sense, you will not say or will think such things. Now, it includes environmental information. Environmental information means how much carbon the company emits, means how you are impacting the environment. Either you are going to impact it or protect it. How you will impact the environment. Let's say you have a industry and that industry have a high level of emissions. So of course, there are some chemical hazards. So there are persons such as sick persons don't know for which problem they are affecting. So the chemicals which your industry is releasing may impact their health further. Now, this is the impact on the environment. How you can protect the environment. You have to reduce your emission level. You have to spend on the plantation. So these are the few factors which you can do for protecting the environment. How much energy it uses. Of course, if you have a high industrial plant, so the energy consumptions will be much higher. So the impact is your surroundings locality means your surroundings people will face the load sheddings. They will not get the enough consumption of the energy. Why? Because all the or the major energy will be consumed by you. So how you can protect environment in this case? You have to shift your energy consumption to the solar panels. You have to use the solar energy. Water consumption, waste generation, pollution levels. Anything related to the environment, it is environmental impact. Now, social information. Employee health and safety. Employee health and safety. Just link the example of the country B. That country B example is very important for this entire document. If any student understood that particular example, then please trust me, you have a strong grip on the sustainability. All the sustainability issue, impact, risk, opportunities, challenges revolve around this one example. As this one example is impacting the entire world supply chain, there are risks, there are opportunities as well. Diversity and inclusion, human rights, labor conditions, community impact. Now you can see the list. All these five words are revolving around just one example. Anything related to people, governance information, board structure, anti corruption policies, executive pay, risk management, anything related to how the company is run. It means governance is the inside factor, the inside person, the inside hierarchy of the company. Now, this is one of the best example on the sustainability. If you are living in the present, you cannot say that for the future generation, we don't have to plant the trees. We don't have to, like, you cannot say that for the future generation we don't need to worry about them. Of course, if you are worrying about your children's education, about your children's upbringing, so similarly you have to think about their sustainable environment as well. If they don't get the better food, or you can say the healthy food, so what would be the benefit of their education? Don't you think without healthy food they will survive? Of course, they will not. So, what will you do if they don't have this sustainable environment? So, look how sustainability is important. Now, Expanded meaning from either ISSA 5000. ISSA 5000 says sustainability information includes both a quantitative data. Quantitative means financial, mathematical. Qualitative information. Qualitative means non-financials. Examples: 15,000 tons of CO2, carbon dioxide, 10% employee turnover, 25% female managers, 85% renewable energy usage. Now, these three, 1, 2, and 3, are the most common examples which you have read or have the experience. But this 25% female managers. Now, this is the most important example. Even I personally face such situation. Let's say I was working in company A, and in that company A there were no female colleague. So there was a time when my company want to up in the A category. But due to this one restriction, they can't get the A category, means they can't get the A ranking because there are rankings A, B, C. If you want to promote your ranking, so you have to fulfill these measures. But due to this one non-compliance, my company can't level up. So now you have to understood how important these data are. Sometimes these data can stop your promotion chances as well. B. Qualitative information descriptions, examples, climate strategy, human right policies, emissions reduction plan, sustainability governance. Now, guys, if you compare these examples or these points with the country B industrial collapse, you will link all the things. Let's talk about with the climate strategy. Let's say there were significant natural disasters, but country B government was not taking any measures, even though the material which were used in the construction of the country B is not up to the mark at that time. Now, due to multiple climate changes, the industry collapsed. Now, once the industry collapsed, major labor died. Now, this is against the human right policies because mostly NGOs work for the human rights. So, don't you think there was a shout? Means all the news channels have eyes on this particular industry. Now, this industry is promoting the business of those who are in the Europe, means who are in the foreign countries. Now, don't you think the foreign country media will also have eye on these brands? Because the country manufacture clothes for these brands. If they don't have this business, so of course in the country B, this industry was not located. And if this industry was not located, there were no labors. And if there were no labors, so there were no casualties. Now, one incident is impacting all the culture, means all the economy, all the business, all the supply chain is impacting due to one incident. So, to whom we will point out? Either the country B government, either the labor, either the industry owners, or either the brand. Now, you just think to whom we can point out because it's a complete supply chain. Now, emission reduction plan. The industry will work day night, and there are gases, there are chemicals which they use for their clothing material. That emissions will also impacting the nearby people or the surrounding peoples as well. Sustainability governance, the entire structure, the inside structure of the organizations have all these information, but still they are not working on anything. But now it is mandatory or will going to be necessary for all the industrialists to work to provide assurance on the sustainability. So this is why this standard is very important, as after this standard we as an auditor or practitioner will not just provide the assurance on the financial statement, as this is the other information which is part of the annual report. If you have a time, just open the annual report of any company, you will have the understanding how those companies will specify the sustainability, their mission, vision, objectives on the sustainability. But there were no independent assurance report on the sustainability. So this is the major flaw, or you can say the big flaw in the specific regions. But now, as this standard is implemented and will also be further mandated by Securities and Exchange Commission of those countries, so we will also work on these things as well, as this is a new field and you can say an emerging field. If any of you want to make a career in this field, this is one of the most important and in demanding field. Let's move to the topic. So it is not just numbers, it also includes explanations and narratives. Yes, we have just covered with the help of one example. In that example, there were no financial loss, there were no fraud, there were no manipulation of management. It just due to an incident. The incident was the natural disaster, the climate issue, and all the supply chain is impacted. Now, the three E's. Three E's means economy, equity, and environment. You cannot say, you cannot eliminate or separate each one of them. If you want to eliminate anyone, you will lose others. So it must be aligned, they must be together. Together, you have to work on these three. You cannot just completely rely on one. If you want to protect the environment, so of course, your economy will go down. So you have to consider the economic power as well. Similarly, if the equity, if one person will have the major shareholding, so of course he will take out their benefit and will not think about the environment and the economy. So there must be a balance between these three. The three is environment, economy, equity. It's not just about understanding that we need to manage all of those. It's understanding how they are connected. Now, if a company reports we reduced our carbon emission by 10%, if a company reports, I can personally guarantee you, I have seen such things in many industrial companies' annual report, but there were no assurance report. Last time I was assigned an audit of steel mill. They are a manufacturer of the steel. I asked them about the sustainability, like how you are work on the sustainability. They just said we have a proper, you can say the template on the sustainability. I said no. How you are working, how you are protecting the environment. They say, We pay, we do the charity. I said, that's it. They say, yes. Then I asked them, now SEC means Security Exchange Commission is going to implement the sustainability standards. So what was their reply? They said, it will be an additional income for you. Now you can understand, still there are industrialists who are not going to accept this assurance. Why? Because they think it's a burden. They have to pay the extra cost. So they target us that this is your additional income. That's why you are asking for the new things. I said, of course not. It's not in my hand. It's in the governance hand. Means the authoritative power not in my hand. They are in the control of the government. If government will regularize or mandate such things, then you have to implement them. And if you don't, then you will be penalized. So this is sustainability information. Why? Because it relates to carbon emissions, environment, employee safety, social. Now, this is the criteria which you don't have to spend time, as this is just for the understanding. Similarly, for the financial statement, we have the criteria, means framework, means IFRS. So for the sustainability, we have also different frameworks. IFRS S1 is for the disclosure, general sustainability reporting. I have told you it's not giving you the exact information. Why? Because it is not wanted us to apply the limited knowledge. Think beyond. The slogan is think beyond, means you do not restrict your knowledge or judgment to these disclosures. If you are identifying any new information, you have to write it down, because it's all about the risks and the opportunities. Sometimes it is a risk, sometimes it is the opportunity. IFRS S2 climate reporting. It's only about the climate reporting. I have a separate technical article on these two. If you want to interested, then you can watch under the playlist of SBR. Now, GRI standards, ESRS, GHG protocol for emissions. These are the measures, you can say the toolbook or the framework which organizations use to measure the emissions. Now, GRI standards, ESRS standard, EU means European. I don't know about these. Why? Because we don't have to bother about these things. So there is a question in the December 2025 mock about the ED exposure draft 5000 challenges. So these are the few challenges which we as an auditor or practitioner will face, because there are some terminologies we don't know about those things, as there are no specific or proper guidance, so we face difficulty. Similarly, this is a new standard or the new engagement for us, so we have to be competitive or we have the proper experience for such things. Also, with respect to the client, the challenge is to adopt this standard, because for the sustainability, client will have to spend amount, will have to pay for the assurance provider. So these are all the challenges which is for the assurance provider or for the client. If there is any question on the challenges, you can write it down by your own words. You just need the idea which I have given you. Now, they guide how the company measures and reports sustainability data. Suitable criteria. For assurance to be possible, criteria must be. If there is no criteria, let's say if I don't give you the direction, the concept, so how will you perform in your exam? So for the audit, for the assurance, we have a criteria, we have a suitable criteria, we have a clear directions. Now, in the criteria, these things must be there. Means relevant. It should give you the exact, means the complete sense of the reporting. It is not like bibs and birds. There must be a complete information. Includes all important areas. Neutral means no biasness, no manipulation. But there is a high risk of greenhouse gassing. What kind of high risk? We just read one example. Look, this one. We reduced our carbon emissions by 10% this year and trained 4,000 employees on safety. How will you measure this thing? I have just given you the real example that I have seen such things in the annual report, but still there is no assurance report on the sustainability. So how would you identify this thing? That's why there is a high risk of greenwashing. Greenwashing means you can say artificial accounting, window dressing. Now, due to these standards, we also work on the sustainability as well. In the past, we just work on the financial figures. We don't bother to look for the non-financial figures, for the KPIs, even though this is the real thing. Financial figures can easily be detected and checked by the AI, ChatGPT. You just give them a prompt, they will give you each and everything. If your approach will be like this on just on the financials, you will easily be replaced. So you have to be street smart. You have to check these measures as well, as these are the measures which challenge your assumptions, on which you have to apply your brain, your judgment. Now, neutral, understandable. Users can easily understand it. If they are not able to understand, so of course there is no mean of this complete standard. Remember the word due care, due diligently. Consistent can be applied by anyone in the same way. Now, this is the thing which I have discussed in the start. I have given you the example. If I ask you to give me the explanation or comparison of two companies, of course, you can easily give me that this and this because they follow the same framework, which is IFRS. But if I ask you to provide me the explanation of two companies' labor laws, of course, they have different labor laws. Some hire laborers who are at the age of 20, some hire laborers who are at the age of 18, 25. They have different rules. But now, after this standard, we are under one framework, so it means there must be a consistency. Example, GHG protocol is suitable for carbon emissions. What is the GHG protocol? It's a tool. You can say it's a scale for the measure. For carbon emissions, because it has clear, consistent rules. Again, repeating, GHG protocol is suitable. GHG is a framework, is suitable for carbon emissions. They have this tool, they have this tool. That is why this is suitable. Why? For carbon emissions, because it has clear, consistent rules. Now, guys, this is the thing which we have to learn. Most of the students got confused between limited and reasonable assurance. Even though the sustainability is the limited assurance, but it can be a reasonable assurance, but very rare. You have to consider the scope. Look, the acceptance, all the planning things which we have covered in the audit are still same in the sustainability. All the things, acceptance, you have to ensure that you have the competence, you have to ensure the integrity. The client is still the same. This is a new engagement. For the new engagement, you have to check your competency. Remaining all the things will be the same. The fees discussion, the deadline, the resources, the integrity, the communication with previous, whatever the factors, the matters which you have covered in the block 2 are still same. I am again repeating, this is not a rocket science. This is not something difficult or different which you have to face any difficulty. All the things, the procedures, the test of controls, whatever the things, risk which you have learned or covered in the previous topics are still the same. This is the additional, or you can say the new engagement, which gives you how to do the assurance or provide the assurance on the non-financials. What are the measures? What are the implications? Now, limited assurance, low level of checking, you can say 75. Why 75? Because if you have studied with me, I have divided these assurance between 75 to 95. 75%, this is not mentioned in the standard. This is just for the understanding. 75% means lower level, lower than the reasonable assurance. Reasonable assurance is still 99, not 100. Why not 100? Because we cannot provide absolute assurance. We cannot guarantee that financial statement, that assurance on sustainability are free from material misstatement. Mostly inquiries and analytical procedures. Why analytical procedure? Because analytical procedure is very important in this engagement. You can easily compare or detect the errors. Less testing, lower confidence level. Conclusions, negative form. Nothing has come to our attention. Used for most sustainability assurance today. Reasonable assurance, higher level of checking 95% or 99%, but I have restricted to 95 so students don't get confused. Why not 100? Because we cannot provide absolute assurance. Now, higher means more testing, recalculations, detailed work, higher level of trust. Conclusion, positive. Positive means, in our opinion, this the wording of this standard of this paragraph start like this. In our opinion. This is similar to financial statement audit. Now, this line shows that the assurance on sustainability is the limited assurance, means it's a moderate level of assurance. And we all know in the moderate level of assurance, in the limited assurance, we use the word practitioner, not the auditor. Now, misstatement sustainability context. A misstatement means information is wrong or incomplete. Wrong or incomplete. One of the major risk is the greenwashing. Management can manipulate you. Management may hide the factual figures. Types: numerical mistakes, wrong GHG emission factors, missing information, no disclosure of water risk, the consumption of the water you are using, there is no example. Biased disclosure, greenwashing, methodology errors, greenwashing. Now, company present itself as more environmentally or socially responsible than the truth. Example, claiming net zero while excluding major emissions. Example, scope 3. There are three scope. Scope 1 means direct impact, scope 2 indirect, scope 3 about the supply chain like this. Okay. Now, this is the one particular example which gives you the greenwashing example. Let's say companies say we are environmental or socially responsible. This is you. You have this phone. Now, this is you. You have this phone. Of course, if you have this kind of phone, this is smartphones, you will make the life of other person hell. Of course. You don't know either this person is working or whatever doing. You keep calling them, you keep messaging them. This is the one example. The other example is, now this mobile phone is manufactured from here. There is a worker who work hard for the mobile devices, for the data, whatever the installation or the assembles in the mobiles are. Now it goes in this factory for the assembling. Of course, their parts will manufacture in this factory. Now you can see the level of emission. Don't you think this will impact the social, the environment? Of course it is. So how can the company say present itself as more environmentally or socially responsible than the truth? First thing, you have to understood that you are not going to measure the level of emissions. These will be measured by the experts. We will use the work of experts. We will get the help of the experts. We will only provide the assurance. Either the company, the data presented by the company or the experts are matching or not. But experts should be independent. You all know these things. Please don't get confused by the word of sustainability. It's still the same. There is nothing new. If you have studied ISA 3000, you have the understanding. So please don't get confused. Don't get confused. This is not something exceptional. This is just an additional engagement. Now, guys, these are the scope. Scope 1, 2, 3 emissions from GHG protocol. GHG protocol, I have told you so many times. Scope 1, direct emissions. Emissions directly from company operations. Company operation means company have a delivery vehicle, have a factory fuel consumption. You can say this one. So these are the direct emissions which impacting the environment. Scope 2, indirect purchased electricity. I have given all the examples in the start. If you are working or if you have the high industry, of course, for this type of industry, you need more energy. And if you are consuming more energy, then the surrounding will not get that much energy and they will face the load shedding. Scope 3, value chain emissions. Emissions from suppliers and customers. Employee travel, purchased goods. How will you detect? How will you identify? That's why scope 3 is the biggest risk. Use of products, waste disposal. How will you justify? Scope 3 is the hardest to measure, biggest risk area. That's why there is a green washing error risk. Now, excessive consumption, climate change, air pollution, plastic pollution, declining ecosystem health mean your plantation will be impacted. So everything with the excessive consumption will have the adverse impact on the environment, on the social, on the governance. Now GHG protocol rule book for measuring carbon emissions mandatory for IFRS 2 climate related disclosures. Now this is the important concept from your exam. Even though for the sustainability, this is the most complex and the most judgmental thing. Materiality. In the exam, in the question number 1, we get the materiality figure from the engagement partner. But you know, this sustainability is very important. Even the partners of the big four are getting training for the sustainability. So now you can assume how important this field is and how emerging this is. Materiality, sustainability, materiality, what matters most to stakeholders means items are considered material if they are individually means single or in aggregate means club all the balances, all the figures. If they are individually or in aggregate could reasonably be expected to influence the decision of the users. Means if anything impacting the decisions of the users are considered as material. Difference from financial reporting. Why it is different? Because we have been learning this thing that this is about the non-financials. Not only financial impact, also environmental plus social impact based on stakeholder perspectives. Now, in the sustainability, there are two types of sustainability. Type 1 is the impact materiality. Impact materiality means how the entity is impacting the environment, how the entity is impacting the society. Similarly, you have the industry and that industry have a high level of emission and the surrounding peoples are very sick. They are getting old. So of course, for the old age persons, they need a proper and the protective environment. But due to such carbons, due to such chemicals, their health is deteriorating. So this is the impact materiality, how you are impacting the environment. Now, the financial materiality means how the company's financial performance is impacted. How your company's financial performance is impacted due to any natural disaster, due to any climate issue, due to any labor shortage, due to any customer supplier shortage, due to any supply chain. So it doesn't mean that the double materiality concept means you are impacting in both ways. No, in the double materiality, we have two concepts. Impact materiality means how we as an entity impacting the environment. Financial materiality means how we are being impacted, means how our profitability is impacted. I hope now you have the better and clear understanding on the double materiality concept. Used in ESRS, both must be assessed. Now, internal controls over sustainability reporting. Controls ensuring sustainability data is correct. Examples, meter readings for electricity, system controls for HR, diversity data, approval of sustainability KPIs, supplier data verification, V controls, high risk of misstatement. Now these are the topics from internal control till the end examiner have not asked. But there is a possibility that in your exam, examiner may ask these things. Even though the examiner asked the impact of the double materiality, examiner asked about the critical challenges as well. The challenges which I have explained above. Now, sustainability assurance procedures, limited assurance, reasonable assurance. You have to consider the scope. Inquiry, analytical review, review of documents, high level walkthrough. You have to understood one thing, the procedures criteria will still be the same, which is CASP. Look, I have written bold here. Remember CASP. Without this, no procedure will be completed. One last time, I am explaining what is CASP. C means case specific. The exhibit given to you in your exam is the case. Means your procedure should be around this exhibit. A means actions. These are the actions. Review, recalculate, discuss. So these are the actions. S means source. What you are going to review or what you are going to discuss. Review, sales document, purchase document, sustainability report. Whatever the document mentioned in the case, you have to pick it. Purpose is the last thing. Why you are reviewing this particular document? To ensure the KPI, to ensure the level of emission, to ensure the ESG factors. So this is how you have to write the procedures. Now, sustainability related risk. Risk of wrong sustainability information include estimation errors, major risk carbon calculations, outdated emission factors, weak internal controls, unreliable supplier data, greenwashing, biased narrative, misinterpretation of frameworks, complex methodology, scenario analysis. Now, professional skepticism, of course, this is the principle, this is the fundamental principle of the audit. In the start of the audit, we learn that we have to maintain professional skepticism, we have to be professionally judgment and independent. Now, expert, this is the thing which examiner can test it in the ISA 600 series. Experts may include environmental engineers, climate scientists, GHG specialists, social impact experts, actuaries, data specialists. Of course, we don't have such expertise, so we have to use the work of expert. Practitioner must evaluate. Practitioner means us. We must evaluate. Same thing, ICED, independence, competence, objectivity, methodology. Look, the core structure, the guideline is still the same for this standard as well. But there is an additional thing about how we have to provide assurance. What are the factors which we should have to understand? What is the double materiality? Ethical risk, self-interest threat, new engagement and self-review threat. Why? Existing client. If you notice, I have given you the example that I was performing the audit of steel mills client, and that client, I have told them that from the next year you have to work on the sustainability as well. So the client asked me, this is the additional engagement, this is your additional revenue. So now look, self-interest rate. Why? Because this is a new engagement. So of course we have a new income stream. Self-review, because this is the existing client. So of course there is a self-review threat. Professional competence and due care. Professional competence means we don't have such experience, expertise. Why? Because this is a new standard. Now guys, sustainability narrative, qualitative information. Same thing which we have learned above. Narrative information includes climate strategy, social commitments, risk explanations, governance structures, future targets. Narrative may be biased. The keyword is narrative. Whenever there is narrative, it may be additional or it may be less. You all know how to set the narratives. So narrative may be biased, means needs skepticism. Now, these are the pointers which is for your understanding. If you want to learn these things, then it's good. Otherwise, it's up to you. So now, guys, in these 9 pages, I have summarized all the important things. There is nothing left with respect to the sustainability, as it's now 5:15 a.m. in my country. Still, I am doing my best for you. So please make sure you covered all these things, as we are now just left with 3 days. After 3 days, you have your AAA exam. Then after your AAA exam, if you have any other exam, you have to prepare for that. Otherwise, you are free. So these are just 3 days. Please make sure you must be consistent. You must work hard. Now, guys, please try to watch this lecture and try to read all these slides. Now, for the sustainability, you have to focus on the Physizoda, or you can say O company question. If you just type Physizoda on my playlist, means ACCA Passpoint playlist, you will get the complete question on the sustainability. That's a very good question. After reading these slides, you have to read the answer of the Physizoda or the O company. I will attach the link of that recording here or there. So now guys, before concluding, let me give you the entire overview. This is not a difficult or a something exceptional standard. The methodology, the procedure, the planning, the acceptance, whatever is the same which you have studied in the previous lectures. If you will get any question with respect to sustainability, similarly, in this December 25 mock question number 3B or A, yeah, 3, the examiner asks matters to be considered on the sustainability with respect to due diligence. You have learned the due diligence. Now for the sustainability, you have to write additional matters with respect to the sustainability. Either the client have the experience with respect to this, as this is the new standard, so you have to think little bit extra in your exam. I can understand in the exam environment we have the exam pressure. Mind will not work like this. But if you just try to keep calm, if you try to take time, give time to yourself, trust me, you will easily recall all the things. Let me give you my example. When I was giving my ACA audit exam, there was a question for 20 marks, two questions, 10 marks each. At the time, I didn't sleep the complete night. I just appeared in the exam as my exam timing was 9 a.m. or 8:30 a.m. So I appeared in the exam without sleeping. You will not trust me. I can't remember anything. But somehow I try to manage whatever I can. But these two 10 marks question, total 20 mark question, gave me tough time. Even though I know their answers because I have practiced those questions in my revision classes. But due to exam pressure or due to less sleeping, I couldn't recall those things as well. But what I did at that time, I tried to keep calm myself. I said, I know the answer. Just give time to yourself. Once I close my eyes and start thinking about their answers, trust me, my mind will give me the complete answer. I write both the answers and I pass the exam. So you just need to be motivated. You just need to recall yourself that you can do it. No one can stop you by passing this exam. This is not a difficult exam. I don't know why many students consider this exam as very difficult. Most of my students have studied these exams in their first, second, or third attempt. But what I get from their past examination settings, they have lack of concepts. They don't know how to draft and how to write a correct answer. So these are the things which you have to learn. This exam is not about the rote learning. Every time examiner will ask new things, will ask the new case study. The structure, the requirement will be same, but of course the material will be different. Different means it's not out of the syllabus. You have the knowledge, but you have to apply your judgment, and that judgment will only be applied on the exam day. So please be attentive, be active, be motivated, and be consistent. Take care and goodbye.